So nothing changed on yours. All right. Un moment. Let me go back into this. Let me get rid of that.
Ken, now we're beginning to wonder if you're the real Manta Claus or not.
No kidding. I'm the incompetent Claus. All right. Slideshow from beginning. You should see me and a shark right now.
No.
No?
Yeah, no.
What do you see?
Just the opening screen in search of mantas.
And still opening screen.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing slides on the left-hand side.
All right.
The whole slideshow.
Hang on.
Oh, now
There
we
we
see you.
go.
Now we see
Well,
you.
okay. But now you also see the slides down the left side, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me try this again. Do you now see me full screen and no slides?
No.
No.
Same.
Well, then screw it. We'll do it this way.
Yeah.
We don't have to do it pretty. So this just goes to show you I am really Manta Claus. Unfortunately, we lose all the fun stuff here. Anyhow, mantas are found in tropical waters, temperate waters. So if you were looking at a map and you just you'll see in a second, draw a line across Mark's. Are you seeing a red line, Mark's phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where that's coming from. We'll see if that ends up going away. There are two species of manta, the manta, I can never pronounce her, the giant mantas and the reef mantas. And basically the giants are bigger than the reefs, and the giants tend to be more pelagic and they'll roam around, whereas the reef mantas are usually considered more resident. What is that? Hang on one second here. Let me check something. No, that won't do it. Well, looks like I think I'm gonna go out of this for a second. Stop share. And I'm trying to see if we have anyone named Mark on the call, because it said Mark's phone and Mark's iPhone. Whoever Mark is, it might have. I'm normally more put together than this on these things. So let's try this again. All right, you're back. We're back up, right? Without the red lines.
No red line.
All right.
But not, oh, there you go.
But you're seeing the slides down the left as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let me try from the beginning one more time. What do you see now?
Same.
Same. Screw this. Okay. So where were we? Down there. Let me go back this way. Now let me go back in to make sure I'm on the right page. Okay. So maximum wingspan of mantas is about 29 feet or so. They'll get to be lengthwise about 23 feet long. So they're sort of square-ish. And it doesn't seem possible, but they weigh like 2.5 tons, 53. They can weigh up to 5,300 pounds. I was in Hawaii one time photographing ones on a night dive, and it was a new manta, as best we could tell. And he wasn't quite used to having how to work around divers. And at one point, you wait till the last second to duck out of the way, and neither one of us timed it right. So he slammed into me. And let me tell you, you don't want to get hit by a manta. They weigh a lot. They live about 40 years or so, and they'll give birth to a pup about every 2 or 3 years. And the gestation period's about a year, and they're definitely on the threatened species list. Now, the big question, is why is my slide? There we go. Is how do you tell the difference males and females? And it's actually pretty easy. When you look at this is a male, and the way you can tell it is a male is look at the back, and he's got 2 claspers, aka penises, and that is how you tell the difference. The females are sort of flat in the back, and obviously they don't have penises. So, but when we look at mantas, most of the time, this is how we're seeing them from the bottom. And the way we identify mantas is through their various belly markings. So you look at a manta like this, and unfortunately, this stuff won't come up, I don't think, one at a time like I'd like it to, but we look at the various things here. So if you can see where my cursor is, the chest area is usually the first place that we would look for markings. And you can see this guy's got all these vertical type of markings. Next place you're going to look is down, and sometimes the chest area alone, that's enough to identify a manta. And then the next area you want to look is down here in the back half of the manta. Those are going to be the two most spotted areas. And for the most part, the manta spots are like fingerprints. They're unique. They identify the individual. They don't change over time. If you need to, sometimes we'll look out towards the wings, or maybe you'll get some spots down like that. But if you look at this slide here, I think all these are from Yap. These are 4 different mantas, 2 males on the top, 2 females on the bottom. But you can see the spot patterns are absolutely and totally different. And again, that's how you'll tell the difference manta to manta. This next slide was very nicely animated, but it's not going to work tonight. If you look where all the stars are, these are various places around the world where we find mantas, and we'll talk about some of these tonight. In Hawaii, over in here, we have a fabulous dive, the Manta Night Dive. Down here is Socorro Islands, aka the Revillagigedo, which I never can pronounce very well, where we're going back in March, and actually Audrey and Marlo will be joining us on that trip, and others of you may have been down there. Sea of Cortez up and around La Paz. The blue star over here is the Texas Flower Gardens. The blue star right below it is not Cozumel, but just above Cozumel, Isla Mujeres, which actually has the largest known concentration of mantas and whales. Well, maybe not mantas, but the whale sharks definitely. But we get mantas coming in with the whale sharks as well. Believe it or not, this is Bonaire. I've even seen a manta cruising under the dock at Buddy Dive. There was recently, a few months ago, a manta spotted in the Red Sea, which is a little bit unusual for there. Over here, we have the Maldives. We'll be talking about that tonight. And this is a place where we call a manta aggregation. Glenn was with me on the trip a couple of years ago, and we got very lucky on that. And over here is one of my favorite places to dive, which is Yap. And we have absolutely fabulous manta stuff there. So that's where they are found in general terms. But like I said, if you go back to this, and if you just sort of draw a line, you can see all of these are sort of middle of the earth type places. That's where you generally are going to find them. So let's start off by talking about Socorro. And Socorro is the generic name and easier for us to pronounce for the Revillagigedo Islands. We start up here in Los Angeles. We fly down to Cabo, and then we take a boat, and we're ending up down here, which is about 220 miles sort of southwest of Cabo, depending on which of the islands you go to. There are 3 main islands in Socorro. There's Benedicto, which is up here. This is actually Socorro Island. And there's a little spit of an island over here, which is really just a rock called Roca Partida. There's actually a 4th island. Is it Clarion or Clipperton? It's Clarion, I think, which is way out there, and Clipperton as well. But these are the 3 islands, if you go down there, that you tend to dive. And to give you an idea of the distances, we got 37 miles there, 75 miles out to Roca Partida, and 85 miles there. So Roca Partida is really nice and isolated and an interesting place to dive in and of itself. When we were there in January of this year, we saw, and again, there's nice animation on this slide. Anyhow, we saw 18 different mantas, and these are the 18 different mantas that we saw. Not all at one time. Anytime I'm out shooting mantas, what I'm doing is trying to get a belly shot so that you can identify who it is. I have no idea how many manta shots I ended up taking, but we send all these off. There's a group of researchers I work with called the Pacific Manta Research Group. So we send them belly shots whenever we get them. And when, where were we? When did we see the manta? What depth and stuff like that. And it's nice because a couple of these, they said they've seen before, but hadn't seen in Socorro for a couple of years. So it's nice to see them back. And a couple of these mantas, I think this guy, this one, and this one are what are known as black mantas because they're pretty black on the back, and you can see it's a sort of a different coloration under their wings. But it's a lot of fun to try to figure out, are you seeing a new manta or someone you've seen before? And a lot of times, the guides are very good about knowing who's who. It's harder for us. Now, when the animated part of this slide would have just had these two little circles up, and you can see both of these guys have this dark spot right under their last gill plate. So you look for identifying things. And for these two, the way to tell them apart is going to be the spots in the back there. You can see we have just the two spots over here, and we have the multiple spots over there. Again, these are two Socorro mantas, but the cool thing about all these mantas is they definitely will want to come up close. They seem to be as curious about you as you are about them. And they will, this is a black manta, and you can see I'm just shooting straight down on them. I think this was at the boiler probably. But they'll circle around and they'll make close passes. And as you can see here, I mean, this is not a photo trick or anything. You can see the eye quite clearly, and he's or she is checking me out just as much as I am checking them out. And a lot of times they will then just make a beeline sort of for you. They're not going to run into you. I've seen mantas as they go by divers, and it's amazing because you think, oh, there's going to be a collision at the last second. You see them take their wing up and just glide right by you and then put it back down. For me as a photographer and just in general terms as a diver, this is what you really want to see if you can get. Can you get the manta coming straight at you? Most of the mantas, you can see the two fish underneath them are remoras. Most of them have some sort of a remora, and a lot of the remoras are all the time moving around and jockeying for position and stuff like that, if you will. In Socorro, especially, the very colorful fish here are clarion angelfish, and they are cleaners for the mantas. So you can see we have a remora up here. We have a couple of blackjacks at the bottom, maybe trying to get something that slips off the manta, and the clarions come up and absolutely will then just do a quick cleaning job on the manta. A lot of the places that we get to dive in Socorro are cleaning stations. So the mantas come in and they're just going to hang for a little bit. And that's a really great place to observe a manta because they're not going to, they're there for a reason. And as long as you don't get too whacked out or anything, they'll hang around and you get to do some good observation. And gee, who would this be? Well,
Oh my gosh.
that would be Audrey. So if you dive with me when we're around mantas, I'll tell you, let's get the manta between you and me, and we'll work to get this kind of a shot. Not looking at the camera, look at the manta, and then you get something like that with a little backscatter in there. But I'd say, Audrey, you would say it was worth the experience, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Wow.
maybe even so good, we'll make you do it again.
Yeah.
The commercial part of this is down in Socorro. We dive with Nautilus, and specifically the Nautilus Undersea. I like that boat among the Nautilus boats because it takes the fewest people. So you're not dealing with 35 divers. They max at 19, I think it is. And actually on our trip in this coming March, we'll only have, I think, 15 because we have a couple of people who've taken single rooms. So that gets us through Socorro. If we move west and we go to Hawaii. In Hawaii, there's a fabulous dive known as the Manta Night Dive. Now, I tell people I don't think Hawaiian diving's all that great, but I would fly to Hawaii just to do this dive, and then after waiting 24 hours, fly home. It's a really cool experience. So we have the Hawaiian Islands here, and down in the lower right, we have the Big Island. And inside the red circle, we have Kailua Kona, aka Kona, which is where the Manta night dive takes place. The way that it started was years ago, and I mean 30 years ago. And I don't remember what the name of the hotel was, but there was a hotel right on the water, and they had a restaurant like out on, you know, the patio or whatever, and it was fairly well lit. And they realized all of a sudden one night they looked down and there's all these mantas there, because what happens is the lights attract plankton, and now the mantas come in to eat the plankton. Well, the hotel closed, and the dive guys in the area said, gee, I hope we don't lose this. It's sort of cool thing to see. So they basically just started setting up in various areas, and the site has moved over the years, but it is, I'm trying to remember where it is right now. It's somewhere south of the airport, but they basically have this place that now the mantas, believe it or not, know to come. And so what they do is they set out some very powerful lights around dusk, pointing straight up in the air. And that hopefully attracts plankton to the lights. And then eventually the mantas come in. And so this is what you get. So all the little spots you see in there is not because I'm a bad photographer and it's all backscatter. That's all krill and plankton and stuff like that attracted by the lights. And the people that are holding their lights up here are not trying to poke the manta. They're just holding the lights up to get some more plankton in the light, and the manta's swooping down literally inches above your head to go ahead and scoop up a little bit of the plankton. And again, you can see the same thing here. You stay with your light pointed up. In fact, you can see the light on the manta there, and they just start eating away, which is sort of pretty cool. You will get 1, 2, 3, 5, who knows how many mantas in. I'm not sure who is who here in terms of mantas, but there's one manta that I know we had when we were there in 2005, and it's one of the biggest mantas in Hawaii. Her name is Big Bertha, and she's got like an 18 or 20 foot wingspan, and man, she is just absolutely huge. What's amazing when you're doing this dive is that the mantas are aware of where each other is. And so these two mantas were on a collision course until right at the last second, they pulled up and they went belly to belly. But from a photographic standpoint, the types of pictures you're trying to get are something like this.
28.
Oops, I went too high. So what you've got here are the mantas have their wings, which in the previous shot you saw pretty much all rolled up. These are called the cephalic lobes. And what they do is they unroll them and they form a scoop in front of their mouths. And this is how they just then glide through the water and sort of scoop the krill on in. A lot of times what you'll see them do, and you can see it in this next shot here, is they will do barrel rolls. So they're just going circular with their mouth open, and there's krill going in, and they filter water out of the gills here. And it's just an amazing, amazing thing. So if you ever get a chance to go to Kona, I highly recommend you do the Manta night dive. We got a little commercial at each one of these segments. My guy in Manta in Kona is Keller Laros on the right. He works for and is a part owner of Jack's Diving Locker. And I'm sure many of you have seen over the years, there's a video of a dolphin who's all tangled up in a fishing line and stuff, who swims up to a diver to get help. Keller's the guy that the dolphin swam up to. So a good guy to know. We move further west, and we're going to go to Yap. And hopefully in here, in this segment, I've got some videos. Now, I don't know if they'll play like this or not, but we'll find out in a minute. But Yap is one of my absolute favorite places in the world to dive. Basically, Yap is part of the Federated States of Micronesia. That's the part inside the dotted line here. You have right to left, Koh Shrai, Pohnpei, Chuk, which used to be called Truk, and Yap. And what you do, if you look in this circle here, we fly to Hawaii, which is over here. And then we fly this way to Guam, which is up here. and then we fly down here to Yap. It takes about 22 hours to get there. Yap is not to be confused with Palau in the red rectangle, which is a totally separate nation. A lot of times Yap and Palau are teamed up together, and occasionally we will run combo trips. But the cool thing about Yap is it is really known as one of the premier manta places in the world. I mentioned the idea of cleaning stations. That's a great place to go see mantas. And in Yap, we have 3 different cleaning stations that we visit. One in Mill Channel, one in a place called Goofnu, and another one in a place called Stamtish. Now, this is what Yap looks like, where we stay as Manta Ray Bay Hotel and Yap Divers. They're down in here. There's actually a little channel you can tell right through the middle of the island. So depending on the tides, we can just run straight up. Mill Channel is right there on sort of the northwest side of the island. Goofnu Channel is over here on the northeast side of the island. And the 2 places are visited by the mantas somewhat seasonally. And depending on which way the wind blows, the generally Mill Channel is pretty much, I think, like a June to November, December place, and Goofnu is then December back to June. In theory, the mantas move from one side of the island to the other. Years ago, they were hanging around Mill Channel. Again, Mill Channel's here, and they spotted some splashing, whatever, 100 yards away. And they sent some people over to investigate. And the people came back and said, hey, there's another cleaning station. It's over here. And it's a place that they named Stammtisch. Stammtisch is a German phrase for, it's a gathering place of the regulars. And the cool thing about Stammtisch is that it is a very shallow cleaning station and very flat. So you're basically in 20 feet of water. So from a diving standpoint, we can just do very, very long dives there, and you'll get just some incredible manta encounters. And you can see how shallow that we are here. Now, one of the things that we find happening, especially at Stammtisch, you got to go a little R-rated at least, and we get a little manta sex. They will do mating behaviors throughout the year. And it sort of looks like this. Again, if this works, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we will find out in a second. But we got a video that is sped up, but it's of mantas gracefully gliding through. But when you speed it up, it simply looks like they're chasing each other. Now I got to figure out if there's a way to start this from here. And I don't think there is. I'm going to try one more time. Tell me if you see the slide. Are you seeing the Reef Seekers logo?
Not yet.
No? All right. Not working. All right, we're back. Whoops, I jumped out totally. We're back to this crappy way to, well, I guess we're not going to get the manta. I think I know where the videos are. Maybe I'll call them up separately. Some rules of engagement that we've got. Anytime you dive with mantas anywhere in the world, number 1, don't touch them. Easy. Number 2, don't chase them. And again, especially if you're a photographer, it's tempting to go chasing after a manta, but try not to do that. Don't blow big bubbles. Sometimes the mantas are spooked by bubbles. Now, the exception to that is down in Socorro. It used to be in Socorro where you could touch the mantas. They encourage you to touch the mantas, and the mantas seem to seek out human contact. And you would see mantas settle over the top of a diver. And I mean, like, that high, right over their head, and be not only in bubbles, but the diver would start stroking the manta's belly. Now, I had this whole theory because I'd watch what would happen. And what you would see would be the mantas eventually would just keep shifting. They'd move forward a little, they'd move forward a little, they'd move forward a little, until eventually where you were rubbing were their genitals. And I'm just convinced the mantas were always getting hand jobs. Now, I can't prove this, but there's plenty of video. Anyhow, we don't do that anymore. If you're at a cleaning station, we want you to stay off of the top of the cleaning station, because on the cleaning station will be lots of little fish that are the ones that come up and clean. And generally you stay as low as you possibly can. And if you can do all those things, you get encounters like this, where the man is coming just, right over your head. In Mill Channel, the place we go, it's a little harder there because it's a ridge at the end of the channel, and the channel's sort of a V, and the bottom of the V is probably 50 feet. It sort of slopes up 50, 60 feet, and then the ridge is up around 20 feet, but you'll definitely get a lot of manta movement down in the channel. Goofnu is basically a big coral head, and also known as Valley of the Rays. And the top of the coral head where the manta is right now is about 20 feet deep. And down the backside here, a lot of times where we watch from, and that's probably about 40 feet deep or so. The nice thing with Goofnu is, mantas are almost always going to want to be where there's some kind of a current, because that way they can face into the current and sort of hold their position while the current runs head to tail on them. So the nice thing with Goofnu is this coral head really provides a lot of shelter for us, so we can observe quite easily. But like I said, Stamtish is one of my favorites. It's very shallow. It's all this stubby little coral. The top here is 15 or 20 feet deep. The light's usually fairly good, even on a bad visibility day, because it's shallow and you're getting a lot of sunlight penetration. It works out pretty good. But the thing to know, and the three shots, these are the three shots here on the left that you just looked at. So Mill Channel, Goofnu, and down at Stamtish. Each of the cleaning stations is slightly different, will attract slightly different manta behavior. As I said, Mill's a ridge at the end of the channel. Goofnu is the mound of coral, and Stamtish is nice and flat and shallow. But again, you get really good, you can get really good manta encounters. We'll get another picture of him, but if you look at this guy and you see that little, we assume that's a shark bite or something out of it. This guy's name is Notch because he has a notch out of his wing. Other factors that will affect whether you're going to see animals or not at the cleaning station: tides, low and high, where are the currents, phases of the moon, weather in general, and what is the sea state. The other thing about any manta encounter, I encourage patience, and a lot of times your patience will be rewarded. We were doing a dive in Goofnu one year, and we were just getting skunked. Nothing. And we're just sitting there. And after an hour, the dives are generally an hour, and everyone's getting so bored, they're like stacking rocks, and they're playing rock, scissors, paper with each other. Nothing. And the dive guide, John, says, "Come on, let's go back." And so the boat is just down another channel, maybe about 50, 100 feet away. And I motioned to John. I said, "I'm just going to stay here another 10 minutes. He said, "Okay." So the entire group leaves. And sure enough, as soon as everybody left, here come the mantas down the channel, right up to me, right over my head. And, when I went back to the boat and told everyone this, of course, their immediate reaction was, "You lying sack of shit." Thank God I had a digital camera so I could show people stuff. But, you just never know. And we've done dives at Stamtish where we went in for an hour and maybe had one manta or maybe no mantas. And as we're getting out, there's another group coming in and they had 5 mantas. So a lot of times it really is luck of the draw, and you just never know. But the encounters with mantas are really, really, really cool. But there are other things to remember. You want to be properly weighted. You want to be as stationary as you can. Sometimes we use a reef hook again because there are currents. Don't forget there's going to be other things at the cleaning station, like little triggerfish maybe that may want to take a nip at you. There may be some eels around in some of the holes or something. A lot of the cleaning stations have fire coral around them. Not that the mantas are getting cleaned on fire coral, but they have the fire coral there. So be aware of that. Because when you're stationary, you're probably going to put your hand somewhere. Don't put it on the fire coral. And the dive tables are here merely to remind you, even though we're looking at mantas, still got to watch your bottom time. You still got to watch air consumption and stuff like that. And if you're going to go to a manta place, find out, is it mating season? Is it migration season? Is it birthing season? And you will see different behaviors at different times. One time I was setting up my GoPro on top of Goofnu, and my intention was just to put the GoPro sort of in the top of the area and swim away and let it run for like an hour and just to see what we would get. And we were going to be down on the side. And as I set the GoPro up, here comes a manta, and the manta wasn't going to go away. And I felt if I was going to leave, that I'm going to spook the manta. So this is just one little shot from it. And it was amazing being up there because you can sort of see bubbles off of the manta here. So we have a whole group of divers down here under the manta, probably going, Ken, you told us not to go on top of the cleaning station, yet you're on top of the cleaning station. But I had the GoPro, and it was amazing. I mean, it was probably 20 minutes or so that this manta stayed with us, kept drifting over to where I was, and you could see him really looking at me, looking at the camera. I have lights, as some of you know, on the cameras, and I'm convinced they're curious about the lights because they seem to come over to those a lot. But it was just an amazing, amazing encounter. And that's the cool thing about diving with mantas. It's just a fabulous thing almost anytime you do it. And basically, if you get privileged to have a really good manta dive like I did, then your face will probably look something like that. Hopefully you'll look prettier than I do there, but you look something like that. One nice thing about Yap is they've done a very good job of tracking the mantas over the years. Bill Acker, who's, you can probably barely see pictured in the middle there, is known as Mr. Manta. And he basically got diving going in Yap, but he was always fascinated by the mantas. So I don't remember how many individual mantas they've identified now, but it's like 60 or 70, and works with a researcher in Guam about finding different mantas. And the cool thing is when you go out and take pictures and stuff like that, if the tradition everywhere in the world is if you're the first one to document a manta, you get to name the manta. And then in theory, that's the name that the manta will keep. We mentioned Notches earlier. This is another shot of Notches. And again, you can see he's the only one I really know very well. You can see what's going on back there. Since I know that the video won't play, I'm going to try to find this video at the end of the dive. But again, the commercial is this is right down in here is Manta Ray Bay. This is their restaurant, the Menu, and this is all of sort of Colonia Yap. Manta Ray Bay, I mean, I've got a great relationship with everybody there, but if you're going to go to Yap, to me, that's, well, now it's probably the only hotel really on the island, but they do a great job with the diving. It's one of the nicest dive dedicated resorts that I've ever been at. So it's really, really cool. And you'll hopefully meet Bill Acker, who's the guy on the right there. And if you really look closely, you can see this is their pool, and they've got two mantas in the tile on the pool. So anytime we go to Yap, I can say without fear of contradiction, I guarantee you will see a manta. It may only be the manta in the pool, but I guarantee you'll see a manta. So another spot to go to, and the last one in our tour is the Maldives. And we were very fortunate in 2020. Well, we were there in maybe it was 2018. No, it was 2020, I think, to experience what we call the manta aggregation. So let me back up a step and tell you a little bit about the Maldives. Maldives is in the Indian Ocean. It's here southwest of India, and I don't remember how many islands and atolls account for the Maldives, but it's like 100 or something, and some of them are just small and absolutely uninhabited. I first started going there, I think, in 1996, and have gone back a number of times. And it's, again, a little tough to get to. You can either fly through Singapore and then straight to the Maldives. Singapore is over here. So you can see it's a pretty easy, it's about a 4-hour flight there. Or you fly in through Qatar, which always looks like Qatar. I think that's Qatar there. And you fly in through Doha. You can actually fly nonstop from LA to Doha and then over the Maldives, also about 4 hours. And one year we flew in through Turkey. So we flew in through Istanbul. But Maldives, Mantas, you're going to find them on the reefs every now and then. And you will find them sometimes, in twos and stuff like that. Again, same general rules of thumb apply, but what you want to do is, and you can see these are anthias, all little. These are not really cleaner fish there for the mantas. They're sort of up on the reef there. But if you really get lucky, what you really want to think about is a place in the northern part of the Maldives called Ba Atoll, and specifically there, it's a spot called Hanafaru Bay. And mantas aggregate there seasonally. It is restricted access. You're only allowed to snorkel if you go into Hanafaru Bay, and you're limited with the amount you like make a reservation for what time you want to be there. And I want to say it's a half hour that you're allowed in, and once your half hour is up, you got to leave. And there's another group coming in, and they limit the number of groups per day. So timing is everything. And sometimes you get very, very lucky. Now, bear with me because this one is worth finding. There we go. This one's going to take me a second to pull up. I keep forgetting how I have these things done. Nope, it's not in there. Okay. Normally, joining us on the call, and I will assume he's still there, is my friend. If you see one that says Lamar, my friend Lamar Beach, who called me tonight. He ran the public library in Vidalia, Georgia, when I ran the radio station, and we just lost contact. And he called me tonight. Probably been 15 years since we talked to each other. Lamar, my talks are usually smoother than this, I promise you. But anyhow, let me see here. Maldives. Glenn, what year was that? 2020?
The first time was 2016 and the second time
2019.
2019.
All right. Completed videos. Here we go. All right. Color adjusted. That's what I want. All right. Now I gotta okay.
So an extra perk while you're setting up
Yeah.
is that if you guys go to Yap, you can stay at a wing that's named after. And
That's
Kurtis.
true. That's true. Okay, I think this is the right one. Please tell me you see the Reef Seekers logo.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta make sure I got the audio turned on for this. All right. All right. This was, we got lucky. We ran into the Manta aggregation. I believe you'll be able to hear this as well as hopefully see it. And it was one of those things, just a magical experience, because what they're doing with all this is it says Manta's got to eat. Are you seeing the title changing? And a guy swimming?
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road.
Well, there's music.
Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So
Guys,
make
yeah.
the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question, but a lesson learned in time.
Are you guys seeing that or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you were telling me anything, I couldn't hear anything. And there's audio with it. I don't know why we're not getting the audio, but
We are.
We got the.
We got the video. Yeah.
all right, hold on. I'm gonna Let me go back. Ah. This is the problem. Normally I run stuff off a different computer and all right. Hopefully you're seeing everything.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you
I
where
can't hear
to
anything.
go.
Let this run.
So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
All right. Hopefully that worked all the way through, right? I'm literally
Absolutely.
flying blind here. So anyhow, in the Maldives, the commercial would be the Man Theory is my boat of choice. But the bottom line is we get mantas in many places all over the world, and I would encourage you to go find some because I am Manta Claus, and I can tell you to do that. That ends our talk for tonight. I don't know. Normally, I set up a second computer so I can monitor what's going on. I didn't do it tonight. I said, I got this dialed in. So at any rate, any questions or anything, anybody? Yes, Jim.
So Ken, are those all reef mantas that we're seeing, or any of those giant mantas?
The ones in the Maldives might be giants because they're seasonal, not always there. The ones in Yap, I think, are more reef mantas. I would assume the same in Hawaii.
What about Socorro?
Socorro, I don't know, and I'll tell you why. And you actually bring up an interesting point. So you think what it looks like. You have Socorro down here. You have La Paz up here. And I think we've had some mantas that we've seen in Socorro, they've seen in La Paz, and vice versa. And we've talked about great white shark stuff over the years. If you remember, they've documented, I go out and do this every day, but we documented that sharks will go from Guadalupe out to Hawaii or halfway out to Hawaii. And there's a place halfway out called the Great White Shark Cafe. And then they come back in either to Guadalupe or they come up to Farallon's up by San Francisco or something like that. And I've always wondered if mantas do that. So one of the I won't say frustrating things for me, like I'm banging my head, but we got the researchers, the Pacific Manta Research Group is based up in, there's somewhere up in the Northern Monterey area. My friend Keller has a Hawaii-based manta research thing. You have the Guam people looking there. I'm not sure if there's anything in the Maldives in terms of formal research, but I can't get these people to talk to each other. I say, you guys should all be sharing your pictures and see, did anybody from Socorro end up in Hawaii or anything like that? So I don't know. It's the same thing happens, by the way, in terms of residents and transient. You have this happen with orcas as well. In fact, a week or so ago, because I know you all hang on my every word and read my weekly stuff. If you remember, I think I mentioned in one of the tours that we had a group of orcas sighted off of Orange County. Well, that's a transient group since we don't normally have orcas here. And up where Sophie lives, up in the Washington area, they have both resident and transient orca families that, with the transients move through the area and the residents are there all year round. So it's something that we know, happens, this idea of there's reef and there's transient ones, but
Asking what the latest.
it's my that's my guess on everything else.
Okay.
Or talking about stuff I absolutely have no direct knowledge and making it sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well,
Yes,
there are
Marlo. No, Marlo raised his hand, Glenn. He's going to be first. Yes, Marlo.
When are we going back to Yap?
That's a good question. All right. So here's the inside information. So number one, I just talked to Bill Acker the other day. He's in the Philippines. And the reason he's in the Philippines is his wife, Patricia, has very severe kidney disease, and he donated one of his kidneys to her, which I think is very cool. And one of the reasons they can be there for a while is Yap is still closed. There is a good chance that Yap is closed through the end of 2022. One of the issues is Federated States of Micronesia overall has, I want to say, they've been good or draconian, depending on your point of view, about locking everything down. For quite some time, the rule was nothing in or out. So if you were a native, and I'll speak just about Yap, if you were a native Yap and you happened to be off the island, you weren't allowed to come back. And then they relaxed that to the point they let people leave, but not come back. And I think now they've started to let some of the citizens repatriate, but they are terrified of getting a COVID case, on the island. On Yap itself, the hospital, is a little bit down from Monterey Bay, and there's just no way they can handle a lot of people getting sick. So the other thing is, the biggest industry, I want to say, in Yap is government services. And tourism is, I think Bill told me tourism is something like 5% of the economy. So there's no real impetus for them, unlike, let's say, Bonaire. There's no impetus for them to open back up. Obviously, tourism is 100% of Bill's economy. So there's a chance it won't be opening for a while, but I would obviously, both Yap and Indonesia are two places that when they open up, and I'm hoping Indonesia will be open for the summer, that we'll want to go back to, not only because the diving's good, but because I feel let's support them financially as best we can and have some good dives to boot. Glenn, you may now ask your question.
So to the last point, there is some new research about migrations of, let's say, scalloped hammerheads that are doing the islands off of I guess it's the Eastern Pacific, Malpelo being the south,
Right.
Cocos, Galapagos, where I just came from,
Right.
and Socorros.
Well, it's interesting. If you look at a map of that area, you've got Cocos up here, Galapagos down there, and sort of in the corner, you got Malpelo. And I remember, got to be 15 years ago or something, one of my first trips to Cocos, we were looking at a map and we were looking at the ocean currents and we're saying, oh, this thing circulates almost in a triangle. And we said, oh, what's that little thing down there? Malpelo. Yeah. And no one was going there at the time. And now that's sort of, it's a remote spot. In fact, I'm I'm not sure how many of you have dove with Sten Johansson on any of the Nautilus trips, but Sten is someone I've known for years and years, one of their dive masters, and he's been running trips to Malpelo. He loves Malpelo, but it's really remote. It's really primitive, if you will, and it's not the place you want to get hurt or anything like that, because there's very little infrastructure there to support you.
It's literally just a rock.
Yeah. You have a trip booked there, Glenn, or no?
No, I was there a few years ago.
How was the diving?
The diving was good. We went to see hammerheads.
Okay.
We saw a bunch of them. They weren't schooling so much, but it's Malpelo's a place that you go to see just pelagics, because it's so remote.
Yeah.
As well as, I actually just got back from Galapagos and had saw whale sharks and hammerheads, and I got to see a mola mola.
Oh, cool.
Up close in a cleaning station. So that was amazing. But they were saying that there may be a migration, including all types of cartilaginous fish, sharks and rays, in that area.
Cool. And I see Laura asked the Yap question as well. So Laura, the answer is the same. Hopefully soon, though. Any other questions? Does anybody have an overdue book that checked out with Lamar years ago at the Vidalia Public Library, and he's come to collect the overdue fee? Lamar, unmute yourself for a second so they know I'm not lying about all this.
Here we go.
There you are.
All right, wait a minute. Can I get a video going?
There you are.
Hey,
That's my friend Lamar. Back when we both had more hair. Well, you've done okay, but darker, definitely.
yeah, a lot more gray.
Yeah. But the fun thing was
Right.
he ran the library in Vidalia. He lived 2 blocks away from me. And we would hang out a lot and did a lot of fun things. So it's nice to reconnect. I have found the Yap video, or the Yap video I wanted to show you guys. I'm going to run it, and
I logged into Kent's class.
there we go. There's Eric. I'm going to run it. I'm going to mute
Well, I
it.
put it in my phone at 8:30, so it must have thought 8:30 Pacific time. He's an
Aha.
hour in, whatever.
Yeah, we're just wrapping up, Eric. So you'll get to see the last video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this video, and I think it's going to do the same thing that it did before. It's 3.5 minutes long, but it's a really great manta dive we had in Yap. And I won't be able to tell if you can hear everything or not. So I'm going to go on the assumption you will be able to hear everything, and I'll come back at the end of the video, but I'll have no clue as to whether it's really working or not. Now let me find it. I think that's it. All right. Fingers crossed. It's a Frank Sinatra tune.
We're in Yap with our friends at Yap Divers from Manta Ray Bay Resort, and it's time to go get some mantas.
All right.
You hear music, right?
Fly with me, let's fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Come fly with me, let's float down to Peru. In Llama Land, there's a one-man band, and he'll toot his flute for you. Come fly with me, let's take off in the blue. Once I get you up there where the air is rarefied,
fly, starry-eyed. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so near. You may hear angels cheer, 'cause we're together. Weather-wise, it's such a lovely day. Just say the words and we'll beat the birds down to Acapulco Bay. It's perfect for a flying honeymoon, they say. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Once I get you up there where the air is rarefied, we'll just glide starry-eyed. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so near. You may hear angels cheer, 'cause we're together. Weather-wise, it's such a lovely day. You just say the words and we'll beat the birds down to Acapulco Bay. It's perfect for a flying honeymoon, they say. Come fly with me, let's fly, let's fly. Pack up, let's fly away.
Not a bad way to spend the morning. Pretty cool.
And 2/3 the way through that, I figured out, oh, I know why I can't hear anything. It changed my speaker settings. So anyhow, but that was just a really, really cool dive. So anyhow, any other Manta questions or anything, or questions about anything? All righty. Next month, Dan Orr is going to be back on the January 11th. And a safety topic, again, I don't remember what it is exactly. I will be putting out the list of speakers. I'm just finalizing some of the descriptions for next year. I will let you in on what I think is going to be an interesting special and even a little controversial one. But in September, on September the 13th, our scheduled speaker is Adam Tucker. Now, you may not know Adam Tucker's name, but he's the lead investigator for the NTSB on the Conception fatality. So I'll be writing herd on comments for that, but it'll be the third 3-year anniversary, more or less, of that. And he's agreed to be able to talk about the investigation and stuff like that, and sort of the mechanics of it. So I think that'll be interesting. We got a lot of interesting speakers again next year. So I've been generally real pleased with the way this is, worked out this year with our speakers, and we get a lot of people that seem to look at the stuff afterwards online. So I'm committed to do it again next year. It's it's like I keep saying, you people keep coming back, we'll keep doing it. That's why I'm Manta Claus, because I keep on giving. That's it from my end, everybody. Thank you all so much for spending some time with us. Lamar, you and I will catch up down the road, and I'll look forward to the slides. Lamar's scanning me some slides from our times in Vidalia. Thank you all very much. Have a great Christmas. Hanukkah's already passed. Kwanzaa, whatever you have. New Year's, and we'll see you all next year at some point.